One thing that many people in my life don't know is that I have ADHD, like extremely. Now that I've said that, people close to me who are familiar with ADHD may have just had a light bulb go off. Ever since I was young, every teacher would suggest that I get tested for ADHD. I was often described as extremely talkative, disruptive towards other students, unable to pay attention or sit still. My godparents nicknamed me the Triple M, Motor Mouth Marin. And to this day, I can easily overwhelm a person with the amount of depth and energy I have behind certain thoughts and ideas. Despite what teachers or doctors said, my mother instilled in me the idea that I was normal and just needed to play outside a little more than other kids. I'm thankful for that perspective because as a result, ADHD wasn't something I perceived as a handicap. Recently, one of my daughters has developed strong signs of ADHD, which has led my husband and I to do further research. The more I've begun to learn about ADHD, its effects on the brain and emotional regulation, the more my personal struggles began to make more sense. So I bring this up today because something I witnessed at a recent business event is how many fellow entrepreneurs also admitted to having ADD or ADHD. I mean, think about it. Attention and energy in multiple directions, endless thinking, loads of communication, hyper focus and organization. Oh, but wait a minute, you might say. I thought ADHD kids can't sit still, focus, or stay organized. So for adults, the fidgeting decreases significantly, but for all ADD, ADHD alike, inattentiveness and lack of focus only applies to things they don't consider interesting or stimulating. Interestingly enough, things that are otherwise engaging, interesting, or enjoyable, ADHD folks find it extremely easy to hyperfocus or hyperfixate. Now, one of the key characteristics of ADHD is low dopamine levels in the brain, or low dopamine receptors, as I understand it. So ADHD peeps are constantly looking for ways to experience that dopamine hit. It takes a little bit more effort and exposure to novel, interesting, or challenging things to get that same reward that non-ADHD folks do. In addition to low dopamine, people with ADHD tend to process more at once in their brains. That's why they're always restless. Their minds and bodies are constantly in motion. So what does all this have to do with adrenal fatigue, veganism, and business? I realize this episode is narrow in its topic, but I wanted to bring a lot of these broader ideas we've discussed in the past together and propose how they all relate to fatigue, overwhelm, and burnout. Because if you're anything like me and you're a business owner or entrepreneur, then it might be likely that you have some form of ADHD or form of neurodiversity, as they call it. It's not a disorder, it's just different. So starting with the first topic, adrenal fatigue. While ADHD is most common, easily treatable, and curable neurodifference, kids and adults with ADHD learn how to mask their symptoms in order to fit more normally in life. But this masking takes a ton of energy and effort. In my own personal experience, if someone asks me about a topic, I have trouble finding the most efficient answer to respond with. My brain tends to think of the entire range from A to Z and all the relevant and not so relevant details in between. I tend to be extremely expressive in my communication or bouts of expressed energy, which I've learned to tone down over the years. But all that suppression can lead to feeling like I'm holding a lot inside. Part of the struggle with low dopamine is extreme emotional sensitivity and difficulty with regulation. Pair that with PTSD that I suffered from childhood, and my emotions are like an internal time bomb that can get set off with seemingly any trigger. Although these experiences are more rare when it happens, and it's likely to at some point, it can take minutes, sometimes hours to get my space, process my thoughts and feelings, which is something that needs to happen in order for me to move forward with any bit of focus or clarity. And while I'm completely cognizant and accepting of all of this, it can be a lot of work and exhausting at times, especially times where the normal stress load of life is slightly higher. So it should come no surprise that people with ADHD often suffer from burnout. So when I share all the things that I've learned to gain more energy and time in my life, it's really because I've had to utilize these strategies to manage it carefully in order to function optimally in this lifestyle that I've created. At least I can vouch firsthand that they work. So when it comes to diet, tyrosine is an amino acid that helps promote higher dopamine levels and is easily found in foods like cheese, soy, meats, poultry, fish, and nuts. While you can find tyrosine in vegan items like soy, avocados, bananas, seeds, and nuts, if you have ADHD or low dopamine in general, veganism is not going to be the diet that you most crave or are attracted to. A low sugar diet is most beneficial to people with low dopamine levels or ADHD. High sugar intakes can exacerbate symptoms and cause other derailing problems with imbalanced hormones. If you've been with my program or content that I put out for a while, you may see this as a common thread. In my own experience, I find directing all that displaced energy of ADHD towards something positive and productive, as well as some physical movement, helps increase my experience levels of happiness, which only makes sense why I've arrived at the destinations of business and health and fitness. But at the same time, driving hard towards continual goals with a brain that is constantly hyperactive on overdrive requires a little bit of extra care to find and maintain balance. That's why I've come here today to relay this information to you. Because whether or not you have ADHD, the truth is the amount of detail, focus, and energy activities like running a business, growing a family, maintaining optimal health, or contributing towards a revolutionary cause takes, it's absolutely pertinent that you accept and make an effort towards supporting your health and energy. The truth is there's diversity in all areas of what makes us human. And now as a society, we're experiencing higher levels of stress, overwhelm, fatigue, and depression, despite the fact that more than ever we have the tools, resources, and advancements that cater to our every whim. It has now become a skill to sift through all the noise and get to what grounds us, like what actually grounds us. So this is my calling to you. If you haven't gotten your regular health checks, do it. Don't just fulfill the basic prerequisites. Take the time to get to know your body and what makes it tick, what struggles you might face. The sooner you do, the clearer it will all become. If you don't prioritize sleep, self-care, and being kind to yourself the way that you show kindness to others, I'm holding you accountable. And if you haven't taken the time to figure out what 20% of your life truly holds value and can form the catalyst to your next level up, stick around because I'll be continuing to dig, seek, and find more ways you can get the most out of your precious resources, your time, your energy, your life. Thanks for sticking around. I love soaking in all this juice. And if you want an easy step forward to more time and energy, check out my free Reset micro course. I'll be showing you how to identify where your time goes, what's holding you back, and how to leverage time for more time. I'll stick that link in the description or show notes to this episode. All right, fam bam, that's it for today. I'll catch you on the next one.